Welcome to the Monday Mile edition of the Over 50 Health and Wellness Show, your quick hit of inspiration and practical advice to kickstart your week strong. Each Monday, I'll be joined by one of our Silver Edge coaches as we tackle one specific topic you might be struggling with, whether that's nutrition, fitness, mindset, or lifestyle, and we'll break it down into clear, simple, actionable tips you can start using today. And here's the best part. You can knock out this episode on your morning walk. Just lace up those sneakers, hit the pavement, and let us coach you through the first mile of the week. Okay, let's get moving. All right, folks, welcome back to another Monday Mile edition of the Over 50 Health and Wellness Podcast. It is just me today. We've got a few questions, so we're going to do a question and answer session here today. Got a few great comments and questions we're going to address. For those of you that don't know, you can submit your question in a couple of different ways. Those of you on YouTube, you can just leave a comment there on YouTube. You can leave a comment on Spotify. You can also, if you listen on, say, Apple or really any app, right at the very top of the show notes for each episode, there's a little link that says text us your question or comment or something like that. Just know that when you text a question or comment, you're not actually texting me or the Silver Edge, you're actually texting my podcast software company. So I don't have the ability to text you back, but that's another way you can leave a comment or a question. And of course, you could always send your question to coach@silveredgefitness.com and we'll be more than glad to answer it here. So let's jump right into it. We've got a few great questions here today, and I want to start with this first one. This is one that came through text here. This is from someone in Madison, Wisconsin. So this person says, I am a new listener. After just a few lessons, I've definitely got the message that taking measure of one's body is an important first step. The problem is, so far I've heard measure nutrients, micronutrients, minerals, and hormones. I don't even know all of the differences between these things. It seems that all the naturopaths in my area don't really offer to help simply measure your body. They want commitments for a year or more. How do I find someone or some organization that will simply help me take stock of my body? What do I ask for? How will it differ from the standard blood tests at my annual wellness exam? Thanks for the show. I love it. All right. Well, thank you so much, Madison, Wisconsin. I'm glad you found the show. Glad you're here. And I wanted to start with this question because this is a great example of how healthy aging can really seem overwhelming and very complex. And look, it is. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. So our job is to try and to navigate this crazy wilderness right here. So I'm going to say a couple things right at the outset. First things first, if you want to live above the mean, and to be fair, the mean in our society or the average is overweight, sick, on prescription medicines, and basically with this fatalistic attitude of it's all downhill from here, specifically for folks in our age demographic, right? 50s, 60s, maybe 70s. So know that that's the average. And our healthcare is set up basically to serve that demographic, the people that are overweight and sick and have multiple chronic illnesses, etc. So when you go to get your annual physical, for example, they're just going to run a very kind of a generic blood panel. And if you're quote unquote sick, in other words, if you're out of reference range on any of your blood work, you're going to get a treatment. Typically, that's going to be a pill or something. And that's not, of course, going to cure you, but that's going to help manage the symptoms of whatever that lifestyle chronic illness is. So whether that's high cholesterol or high blood pressure, pre-diabetes, high blood sugar, insulin resistance, et cetera, right? So just know that you listening to this podcast, you finding this podcast, so obviously you are seeking information about healthy aging, you're above the mean. So you're already ahead of the curve, which means that now you got to figure out new ways to take responsibility for your own health and your optimal health. Because look, your physician is interested in you being not sick, but they're not interested in you being optimally healthy. And those are two very different things, right? So getting back specifically to your question, you say, how do I measure nutrients, micronutrients, minerals, and hormones? Let's just take the first couple. So nutrients and micronutrients. So when it comes to nutrient and micronutrients, there are blood tests you can take to measure these. But one free or relatively inexpensive way that you can at least start is with some sort of a calorie tracking app. So MyFitnessPal is probably the most well known here. They have a free version, by the way, or a paid version. They're going to try and get you in the paid version, obviously. But there's lots of different apps out there. If you go to your app store and do calorie counter, you'll find something. But just weigh, measure, and track everything you eat and drink without changing the way you currently eat or drink for the next couple of weeks is a great way to get your arms around a little bit of information. So let's use MyFitnessPal as an example. If you were to weigh, measure, and track everything you eat and drink for the next couple of weeks, you're going to learn what your average calories are. That's useful information. You're going to learn what a serving size is. That's useful information. You're going to maybe see some patterns like, oh my goodness, I eat 1,500 calories pretty consistently Monday through Thursday, and then Friday through Sunday, all hell breaks loose. Maybe you see that pattern. You're also going to see your macronutrients. So now you're going to be able to see, okay, what percentage of my average diet is coming from fats, how much is coming from carbs, how much is coming from proteins. So we have some information there. You'll also be able to dig in and see some micronutrient information. You'll be able to see how much sodium am I getting, how much potassium am I getting, how much fiber am I getting, right? So there's a really good way to at least get some groundwork from the nutrient side. Again, very low cost. I would recommend you pick up, if you don't already have, one of those little digital kitchen scales for weighing things. You can get them on Amazon for under $20. So that's my first recommendation. Next, when it comes to minerals and electrolytes, I actually have a very specific recommendation for you here. Every couple of years, I do a test from a company called, oh goodness, why am I drawing a blank? Oh, it's called Equilife. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on that. Equilife. And they do a specific test called your minerals and metals test. And this just requires a small hair sample. You mail it in and you get, not only do you get the results back, but you actually get a consultation with a healthcare provider to help you understand what you're looking at there. That's a really easy way to start dipping your toe into, I'm not going to call it biohacking, but just that next level of getting a look under the hoods of what's happening inside your body. So again, this is going to test all of your minerals, heavy metals, so mercury, lead, arsenic. You'll know what's going on there. And if you're interested in that, I'll throw a link to that in the show notes for that. And then finally, when it comes to hormones, I am a strong believer that every man and woman, really from 40 years old and on, should be getting annual comprehensive hormone panels done. Now, unfortunately, your general practitioner is probably going to push back on that, and that's a shame. I know I have gone and asked my general physician, the guy I see once a year for my standard blood work, hey, I'd like a full hormone panel done, and he's like, why? Well, it's my body. I want a baseline, if nothing else. I want to see how this trends over time. I'm 61 years old. I want to know this information. And you get a lot of pushback there. Now, full disclosure, I just did a full hormone panel and I went outside of my general practitioner. I went outside of the medical system. I went private. I went to a company called privatemdlabs.com. I paid $250 for, I think that's called the men's hormone medium panel, something like that. They have the exact same thing for ladies. I will throw a link to those two tests also in the show notes. So you could just go and order that lab yourself. So it's really easy. You just go online, you order it, you pay for it, and then they send you to a Quest or some place where they draw the blood, and then a couple of days later you get all your information back online. Or you could just go and look at that hormone panel and see what tests are in that. So it's a pretty comprehensive blood draw. I think when I did it, there were, she did maybe a dozen vials of blood. So as I was sitting there, she's just sucking a whole quart of blood out of me practically. But I got a lot of information, and just for point of reference, I think that was like about $250, something like that. But again, here's the thing. You had mentioned, hey, the naturopaths in my area, they want a subscription. It's expensive. My insurance won't pay for it. Yeah, welcome to the club. That's because you're trying to live, again, above the mean, because you're trying to have optimal health. And our traditional insurance, healthcare, sick care system isn't really designed to help you optimize your health. So I'm really glad you're here. I would just encourage you to become the CEO of your health, that you are to take responsibility for your optimal health. I love that you're interested in this. I love that you're curious about this. If you have any questions, please hit me back up. But absolutely love that you, of course, found the podcast, but that you are curious and interested in simply taking stock of your body. Because you're right, at the very at the very minimum, you should have baseline numbers that you track over time, whether that's your blood lipid panels, which you probably get naturally anyway, but also things like hormone panels and, again, heavy metals, what's happening there, what's happening with your minerals, what's happening with your micronutrients. All of these things are really important that you track over time and that you shore up where you're deficient. All right, so Madison, Wisconsin, thank you so much for writing that in. Let's see, I had a couple of YouTube comments. First up, here we go. How much are you being paid? Question mark, question mark, question mark. Okay, so this person left that comment on the episode I did a while back with Jay Campbell. That episode was titled Peptides, Hormones, and the End of Aging, a masterclass with Jay Campbell. I don't know what that guy's thinking, or gal, I'm not sure who wrote this, but I'm not getting paid. I've never been paid by a guest in my life. I never will. We'll go ahead and say, I was going to say never, but no, I'm not going to get paid for somebody to come on and be a guest on my podcast. In fact, I'll tell you this, I'm now paying Jay. I'm now paying him. He came on, I connected with him. I am a part of his mastermind now. So I'm in his mastermind group. So I have joined that after my interaction and getting to know Jay and following up with him after the podcast, etc. So sorry to disappoint you. I am not a paid shill for Jay Campbell or for peptides or for hormone optimization, any of that stuff. But thanks for your comment there. All right, next up, another question from YouTube. Please give more advice on diet to build muscle, etc., to feel alive again. I'm 44 and feeling it. All right, love this. I obviously don't have a whole lot of information to go on here, but 44 and feeling it. Brother or sister, you are too young to be 44 and feeling it. I'll say that that's very common, but it's not normal. So I already wrote back to this person. If you're listening, I messaged you inside of YouTube. I just messaged back. I sent you the podcast episode. It's titled Stop Overcomplicating Weight Loss, the Ultimate Over 50 Guide to Looking and Feeling Amazing. That was recorded last August of 2024. That's a great place for those of you to start when it comes to just demystifying what to eat, nutrition, all that stuff. So in that episode, we break down the Silver Edge pyramid, nutrition pyramid. This is something that I've developed to help specifically to demystify nutrition. What should we as men and women over 50 eat in order to build muscle and burn fat and to feel alive again? And just very quickly, if you're not familiar, that pyramid's got it's got 4 levels. The base is the most important thing, and that's what you eat. There's 2 primary tenets there. The first is get rid of ultra-processed crap and eat as much whole, real food as is practical. The second is to eat a bunch of protein, a bunch of clean, lean, healthy protein. We encourage people in our age demographic to aim for 1 gram of protein per pound of ideal body weight. So that's the foundation of that pyramid. So moving up in the pyramid, the next most important piece you can do in order to build muscle, burn fat, and feel alive again is pay attention to how you eat. This has to do with eating mindfully, slowing down, developing a sacred relationship with your food, etc., etc. Then moving up from there, the next most important thing is how much you eat. That catches a lot of people by surprise that we believe that's the third most important piece. But here's what we found after hundreds and hundreds, probably close to 1,000 clients by now, coaching men and women in this age demographic. When you take care of what you eat and how you eat, a lot of times how much you eat starts to take care of itself. But of course, energy balance is important, so we certainly address that. And then the least important part, the very tip of our pyramid, is when you eat. So that's for all my intermittent fasting zealot friends out there. We believe that that is the least important part of building a lean, strong, healthy, capable body you love for the rest of your life. So if you're interested, go back and check out that podcast episode. All right, so I've got some more questions. These come from Spotify. So apparently in Spotify, you can leave your questions in there as well, or comments. Let's go with the first one. This says, this podcast really hit the nail on the head for me. Wow, I am a 68-year-old personal trainer, very active and fit, but can't seem to shed these stubborn 10 pounds. Bingo, my sleep is not good at all. I am always thinking about the next day and how I'm going to be with my clients and class. Thank you for your help. So true. Okay, well, thank you so much for your kind words. I absolutely freaking love that you're a 68-year-old personal trainer. Absolutely love that you're out there being a healthy aging ambassador. Love it. And yeah, a whole bunch of us that are very fit, very active, are in that same boat with you, right? You got that last 10 pounds you just can't just can't seem to get rid of, right? That's very, very common. And yeah, if your sleep is off, if you've got poor sleep, you are really fighting an uphill battle. So this comment was left on the episode titled Why Your Brain Might Be Blocking Fat Loss and How to Fix It. We did that with Dr. Patrick Porter. So thanks again for leaving your comment. And again, keep up the great work. And I hope you got lots of sleep tips. If you need more sleep tips, if you just want to search through, now we got over 350 something episodes, but we've done a couple of really good episodes specifically on how to shore up your sleep. So make sure you go back through the archive and pick out some of those. All right, next one is a comment. It says, I really enjoy these podcasts, so much informative knowledge, and I really get motivated to be stronger and healthier. Good grief. Thank you so much. That makes me so happy to read that. I really appreciate you being here. I appreciate you tuning in, and I'm glad that you're getting motivated to get stronger and healthier. And that's the mission here, right? When I first started this podcast 5 years ago, by the way, almost 6 years, coming up on 6 years here pretty soon. My mission was, my thinking was, if I could just get one person over 50 to really reclaim their health and to rethink things, and this will have been a victory. And now I've got this very bold, audacious goal to transform the lives of 1 million men and women in our age demographic. So thank you very much for your kind words. Let's see. Next up, again from Spotify. Wow, I'm just trying to maintain my health. In contrast, your guest wants me to inject, ingest, and sign up for a lifetime of untested chemicals. This is way off the mark and makes me question the philosophy of this podcast. Dang it. All right. Well, I mean, you're not going to hit it out of the park on all of them. And again, this one was in response to the episode I did with Jay Campbell. Some of you guys loved him. Obviously, some of you guys not so much. So again, that episode was Peptides, Hormones, and the End of Aging, a masterclass with Jay Campbell. So that's what prompted this particular response. And look, if you... I don't want to call you out here, but I feel like maybe you missed the main message there. In fact, Jay does not want you to inject, ingest, or sign up for any lifetime of untested chemicals until you have done all of the other lifestyle things first. He was very, very clear about that. In fact, we spent practically in the entire episode talking about the importance of eating real food, of strength training, of doing your cardio, of getting your steps in and restorative movement, of the power of sleep and managing stress and all these lifestyle things, of having a healthy weight, of being lean, of being strong before you ever even think about, quote unquote, injecting and ingesting a lifetime of untested chemicals, etc. Now, that being said, he is unapologetically a biohacker. And he is out on the frontier of peptide therapy and hormone optimization. If that's not for you, understood. I find that to be fascinating as somebody who is very interested in that biohacking community and the future of potential longevity, science, etc. So you, just a heads up, you're going to hear from Jay again. He will be back on the show in the future, and I will continue to have guests on who push the envelope in this area. So just a heads up there. Sorry that one came off that way, but I don't think that Jay or anybody else is asking you to inject or ingest anything that you're not comfortable with. Certainly not that you sign up for a lifetime of untested chemicals. Sorry that you felt that was off the mark. All right, moving along. Next Spotify comment. According to the goal weight times 15 calculation that has mentioned, my daily calorie intake should be 825. There is no way I can drop it that low, I reckon. Ha 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 ha. All right, so this was in reference to a episode where we talked about a way to calculate your goal daily calorie intake is to take your goal weight and multiply it by 15. Now, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say this person miscalculated something horribly. So I don't know what your goal weight is, but that number is really scary low. You're right. Your goal weight, I don't know anything about you, but I do know that your goal calories should not be 825. They should never, ever for anybody. I can't think of a scenario where they would be 825 calories a day. Is your goal weight, let's see if I'm doing my math right, is your goal weight 55 pounds? Maybe it's 55 kilos. Did you perhaps use kilograms? Not sure what's going on there. But in the context of that particular episode, we were trying to calculate, we're trying to get an idea of what a healthy maintenance calories would be. We were taking our goal weight in pounds and multiplying that by 15. So if maybe you did kilograms, or maybe you think, I don't know why you would think your goal weight would be 55 pounds or some ridiculous number like that. But apparently we got some miscommunication there. But thank you so much for writing in. Hopefully that clears it up. If not, hit me back. I'm at coach@silveredgefitness.com. Love to get that straight for you. All right, next up. Oh, I love this. This one's from Jerry. We know Jerry. She is one of our clients here at the Silver Edge, and she was kind enough to post in here. Jerry, sorry, I just saw this. I know you dropped this in the comments a couple months ago, and I did see that you left a comment before that as well. But Jerry says, in the past, I found myself jumping from one online or in-person program to the next. I was always driving myself crazy, feeling like I was being pulled in all directions. Then my friends would pull me into all kinds of challenges besides. Finally, just had to say stop. And she's got stop in all caps there. When I started with Kevin and the coaches with Silver Edge, I feel I found my home. I feel like this is sustainable. It's not always perfect, and neither am I, but it gives me nutritional and movement strength guidelines I can live with. Jerry, thank you so much for your kind words. You have nailed it on the head. We're not perfect. You're not perfect. None of us are, but we're just trying to declutter all the noise, because there's a lot of noise, and that like some people say, the signal to noise ratio it's loud and getting louder, right? So how do we cut through all the crap and just do the things that are going to move the needle for those of us in our 50s and 60s? Really appreciate that you took the time to leave us a comment there. All right. And then finally, I've got here, this one's from Glenda, again from Spotify. She says, I would love, all in caps, I would love to share these episodes with my husband. He's deaf and reads lips, but there are no captions. All right, Glenda. Yeah, you're right. I don't know specifically how we can get around that. There is a YouTube recording for these. I don't know how that works. If he could read lips on a YouTube video, that to me, that seems like that might be challenging. I do know that Apple Podcast transcribes every single episode, not just of mine, but of all podcasts. So it's an AI transcription, so it wouldn't be perfect, but it would be probably pretty close. Perhaps he could read the AI transcription of podcasts. So just a couple of options there. I don't know how to make an actual transcription on the podcast, but I'm sure that technology is not far away. It's probably here. Maybe I'll take a look, but I appreciate you writing into us. I'm thrilled that you found us and that you love the episodes, and I'm with you. I'd love for your husband to be able to participate in these as well. All right, folks. So there we go. There's our question and answers for today. Here's what I want to leave you guys with. I would love nothing more for you guys to send me your comments, send me your questions. Look, they can be good, bad, and ugly. You can say, I hated that episode, or I hate you. I disagree with what you're saying. Or look, I love sharing the love. That makes me feel good when you guys say, oh, I love this podcast. That's fantastic. Share the love. That's fantastic. Share the hate. If you hate it, hate it. If you love it, love it. And especially if you have a question, I love answering questions. I answer health and fitness, nutrition questions for a living. So guys, hit me up. I'd be glad to answer them here. All right, that's what I've got for you this week. Until next time, guys, stay strong. Okay, folks, that is your Monday Mile for this week. Quick, simple, and packed with power. If you found this helpful, be sure to share it with a friend who's walking their own path to better health. And hey, don't forget to tune in this Wednesday for our full-length episode of the Over 50 Health and Wellness Show. Until then, keep walking, stay consistent, and as always, stay strong.